And now we have to say adieu to the What If series for the NFL because we are done. We have done all 35 teams and offshoots, of course. The 32 franchises that are in the NFL today and three offshoots. We did two two Colts for Baltimore and Indy. We did two Cardinals for Chicago and St. Louis. Sorry, Arizona, St. Louis. And we did a few other ones. But the fact of the matter is that this is the 35th and final Cutter What If NFL. And you're thinking, well, this is the end of Cutter What If. Is it? No, it actually isn't. It's not because guess what? We got two more sports to cover. We got football and basketball. I mean, what am I thinking? Basketball and hockey to deal with. And it should be fun to do that because there'd be best of seven series instead of just one game winner take all. That's why the football videos are so short. But anyway, let's finish this series off with talking about the one team that I despise so much as a Patriots fan. Is it the New York Giants, despite the fact they beat us twice in the Super Bowl? No. Is it the New York Jets because they're in our division and Eddie Guy cheers for them? No. Is it the Miami Dolphins? I have people cheering for them. No. Is it the Pittsburgh Steelers? No. Is it the Indianapolis Colts? No. Is it the Denver Broncos? No. Then what is it? Well, I talked about Miami and the Jets being divisional rivals. Who else is in the division? That's right. It's the Buffalo Bills. And no, their four Super Bowl losing teams is not part of the what if. Because the rules of the what if, of course, is that the teams have to be non-finals thing. I'm not simulating a finals, redoing finals. Like I'm not redoing Super Bowl 25. I'm just like for basketball, baseball, and hockey. It's for teams that fail to make the finals because that's the big what if. Is what if they made the finals, if you will. So let's talk about the Buffalo Bills and a recent season in which they should have had the title. So get ready. I said, are you ready? Are you ready for some Cutter What If NFL football? A weekend invasion! Yeah, it's Cutter talking to you live. We got the hits and the misses. So come join me for all the fun. All the rowdy friends come in. It's the weekend, y'all. Are you ready? Yeah, let's do this, baby. Yes. Well, the sun just left, so I gotta do it with my light. Nevertheless, let's talk about the Buffalo Bills, why don't we? The Buffalo Bills were an AFL franchise, part of the American Football League, the Renegade League, to try to destroy the NFL. And they were decent. Jack Kemp at quarterback, Cookie Gilchrist running the ball. They had Albert Dubrinian at wide receiver? I can't remember. But anyway, Buffalo has a great offense. They had to play at the old War Memorial Stadium where they wanted a baseball team, but failed. So anyway, Buffalo got themselves a football team, and they won a couple of AFL championships in the mid 60s. Unfortunately, though, they fell off the map a bit. But they did get the number one pick in OJ Simpson. So that worked out. But for Buffalo in the 70s, it was basically OJ and nobody else. It was just OJ in the offensive line. Their passing was not the best. Joe Ferguson was not yet at his prime. And the Buffalo defense can do whatever you do. OJ did get a 2,000-yard running season in a 14-game season. Imagine if he did it in a 17-game season like we do today. Like how many yards he would have. He would beat Eric Dickerson's mark of 2,105. The fact of the matter is that Buffalo just wasn't there. But Joe Ferguson helped out with Joe Cribbs in the backfield and a decent defense, including which could have had Tom Cousineau. But the guy, even though he was drafted number one by the Bills, actually decided to cross the border and come to the CFL to play for Montreal because Nelson Scambania had the money. And Cousineau jumped to the NFL for the CFL. You don't see that every day. Nevertheless, Cousineau came back, but then he was traded to Cleveland. He just wasn't there. It shows you how much people didn't want to go to Buffalo. And Jim Kelly, when he was part of that great quarterback class of 1983, which saw Ken O'Brien, Tony Eason, of course, Jim Kelly. I said John Elway, right? Dan Marino, Ken O'Brien and Todd Blackledge. I said Ken O'Brien? I said Eason. But anyway, those six guys. Kelly didn't want to play in Buffalo. He didn't like the weather. He didn't like the fan base. So he decided to head off to the USFL and play for the Houston Gamblers. The joke was on him. After 2 years, the USFL folded and practically he went back to Buffalo, signed a contract, and the K Gun offense was born. Him with Furman Thomas at running back and wide receivers such as James Lofton, Don Beebe, Andre Reed, and a few other names would do the job. So anyhow, the Buffalo Bills looked decent, and they built themselves to be contenders with Bruce Smith and Nate Odoms on defense. The Bills were look good. In 1990-91, they won the AFC title game against the LA Raiders in a massive 51-3 blowout. The Bills would face the Giants in the Super Bowl 25. Unfortunately, the Giants would use something called not that. They would use something called clock management to make sure Buffalo didn't get the ball for their K-gun offense. It worked, and it forced Scott Norwood to try a 48-yard field goal to win the Super Bowl, which he failed. He went wide right. Everyone knows that. But what you don't know is that Scott Norwood, you can't completely blame Norwood. I mean, the kick was 48 yards, which is not easy. Basically, if it was less than 40, he had a massive chance. He was kicking on grass, whereas Buffalo plays their home games on turf. And, the placement of the ball was not the best. So, anyhow, the Bills lost that one. But they did win the AFC title game against John Elway and the Broncos and went on to play the Redskins in the Super Bowl. Unfortunately, Washington was one of the hottest teams in the league when they started. They started 11-0, and they took care of Buffalo using a Canadian-born quarterback named Mark Rippon. Perhaps you heard of him? Anyway, Furman Thomas is losing his helmet notwithstanding, Buffalo lost. But then Buffalo went back to the Super Bowl, defeating Dan Marino and the Dolphins. And people forget that Buffalo had to go to Miami to play in the AFC title game. They didn't host Miami. It was in Miami because Miami won the division. Unfortunately, Buffalo were slaughtered 52-17 by the Cowboys, who were getting back to prominence and all that. It could have been 59 if it wasn't for Leon Lett's stupidity. But Buffalo didn't let that get to them. They got to their fourth straight Super Bowl and went on to lose to the Cowboys while they beat Joe Montana and the Kansas City Chiefs. So that's three legendary quarterbacks beaten in the AFC title game. So they lost to the Cowboys thanks to James Washington's pick six. Buffalo would fall apart. Everyone was getting old and all that and retired. Bruce Smith would head to Washington because they wanted to buy the 1990s All-Pro team in 2002. Nevertheless, Buffalo would regroup and get to the playoffs for the 99-2000 season. And in the first playoff game of the 21st century, on January 8th, 2000, the Bills would play the Titans. And, of course, would be up 16-15 and then went for a short kick. Should have went for a long kick. But short kick, Tennessee had a lateral and it scored the touchdown to win the game and get on to be the AFC representative in the Super Bowl. Buffalo, unfortunately, would fall flat for 17 years, not making the playoffs, until an Andy Dalton late touchdown pass for Cincy against Baltimore prevented the Ravens from making the playoffs and got mucho dinero for Andy Dalton, like $2 million or something like that, for his charity. Buffalo would rebuild. Josh Allen would be drafted from Wyoming at quarterback. I mean, how many people do you know from the University of Wyoming? I guess Brian Yarbrough, a good wide receiver who had college football records for a while, and Jim Kick, who recently passed away. But the fact of the matter is that Buffalo had a decent running game with Dalvin Cook. Wide receiver Stephon Diggs, when he was with Buffalo, he was pretty good. And then the defense, like Von Miller, came by for some seasons. Buffalo, of course, keep getting close to the Super Bowl. I wish they get to the Super Bowl, which is weird because, I'm a Patriots fan. And, Buffalo went through a lot. I mean, Damar Hamlin, suffering cardiac arrest in the middle of an NFL game. He almost died. He almost ended up like Chuck Hughes in 1971 to die on the field. But he made a massive progression. And, Buffalo's gotten a lot of it. So anyway, let's talk about the 2021 Buffalo Bills. All right, so the 2021 Buffalo Bills season was their 52nd in the NFL, seventh under the Pagula family, and their fifth with head coach Sean McDermott. They were 13-3 the previous season, but they won with 11 games. They were 11-6. They were the 3 seed, which meant that for the fourth time in 5 years, they were in the playoffs. They had one of the best defenses around, highest point differential and margin of victory. So it looked like, you know, big. The funny thing for Buffalo is that every time they won their 11 games, they were by multiple possessions or more than 8 points. Every loss was within one possession. So the Bills had a tough divisional round game, which we would get. DeWarner Hamlin was drafted in the sixth round, 212 overall from the University of Pittsburgh. New Orleans/Houston gave him the pick and all that. So that worked out. So anyway, yeah. Josh Allen with Mitchell Trubinsky at quarterback. Tre'Davious White was a good cornerback, but he was hurt. The running game, Devin Singletary coming in with Taiwan Jones and Matt Breida. Wide receivers, Cole Beasley, Gabe Davis, Stephon Diggs, Isaiah McKenzie, Manny Sanders, with Dawson Knox at tight end. Offensive linemen of note, Spencer Brown, Tommy Doyle, John Feliciano, Cody Ford, Mitch Morse, Darrell Williams. Defensive linemen of note, Jerry Hughes, Star Lotale, Ed Oliver, Harrison Phillips. Linebackers of note, Tremaine Edmonds, AJ Klein, and Andre Smith. Defensive backs, DeMar Hamlin, number 31. For that year, Michael Hyde, Cam Lewis, and Levi Wallace. With Tyler Bass kicking, Matt Hawk punting. So they were actually at their wits' end. They were 7-6, but then they beat Carolina, New England, Atlanta, and the Jets to get to 11-6. Buffalo nipped New England for the division, and of course, it's the last time. I think it's the last time the Pats made the playoffs. But anyway, yeah, the Bills were the 3 seed and nipped the Patriots for the division, which sucks, which ticked me off. Buffalo would have, even if they had lost, they would have won the division because I think by division record, they would have had the Pats. The Bills ended up third. Tennessee was the 1 seed thanks to a matchup win over Kansas City. Kansas City would be forced to play in the wildcard game, Buffalo and Cincy as well, with Pittsburgh, New England, and Las Vegas also playing. So I was happy that the Patriots made the playoffs. I, of course, was upset because Vegas got the 5 seed because of win percentage in common games. So that meant we couldn't face Cincy. We had to face Buffalo. But of course, me as a Patriot fan with the Bills, I figured it would be a walk in the park. Not so fast. In minus 14 Celsius / 7 Fahrenheit weather on a Saturday night, the Bills beat us 47-17. Allen Knox, Singletary ran the ball for touchdown. Singletary touchdown run, block field goal, 27-3 Bills. The half, Mac Jones just wasn't there. And a few years later, he's now in Jacksonville. So you can kind of guess that we were dead meat. But the Bills became the first team in the Super Bowl era to score a touchdown on each of the first 7 drives of a playoff game. I'm freaking real. And the Bills had a 51-point game against the Raiders. Additionally, they were actually the only team in NFL history to not even attempt a field goal, a punt, or commit a turnover in a single game, regular season or postseason. So, geez, they didn't even attempt a field goal. Well, they scored 47 points. Did they go for 2? No, they missed 2 extra points, which was weird. So they went to the divisional round in 3 Celsius weather, basically balmy weather compared to what happened the previous week. It was a battle royale at Buffalo, Kansas City. Singletary got a touchdown run, then Mahomes touchdown run, Brian Pringle from Mahomes, and then Allen to Gabe Davis. 14-14 at the half. Butker field goal. McCarr Hardman got a 25-yard run. They missed the extra point. And then Gabe Davis got a touchdown from Josh Allen. 23-21. Harrison Butker field goal, make it 26-21. Josh Allen to Gabe Davis for a touchdown. They went for 2, and Diggs cut the ball. With a minute 54 left, Bills were up 29-26. And then in 52 seconds on a 5-play, 75-yard drive, Mahomes passed to Tyreek Hill, but it was a 64-yard bomb. Touchdown with a minute 2 left, and the Chiefs were up 33-29. Buffalo would drive down the field, 6 plays, 75 yards, 49 seconds, and then Gabe Davis from Josh Allen touchdown, 36-33. But somehow in 3 plays in 13 seconds, they got the ball in play for Butker to kick a 49-yard field goal, and one of the best accurate kickers made it. In an overtime, Mahomes to Kelsey for a touchdown. And at that time, if you score a touchdown, it was over. It's now set in stone in the postseason that both teams will get one possession in overtime. Kind of awkward. Yeah, it was really back and forth. Yeah, Buffalo decided to kick the ball, but unfortunately it was out of the end zone for a touchback, meaning the Chiefs were at the 25. They could have a squib kick to run the clock down. But yeah, Patrick Mahomes threw a pass to Tyreek Hill, and then to Travis Kelsey. They ran down in 5 seconds and then kicked the 49-yard field goal. Unreal. Their defense looked pretty good, and the Buffalo Bills fell. But what if the 2021 Buffalo Bills didn't fall flat and actually won the game with 13 seconds left? Let's find out. So the Bills would have hosted the AFC title game against the Cincinnati Bengals. They were the 4 seed and shocked the Titans to get this far. So the Bengals would face the Bills. Of course, we all know the Bengals were the 2021 AFC champions in real life, taking care of Kansas City in Kansas City. But Buffalo would have hosted the game against the Bills. I mean, the Bengals. What am I thinking? Nevertheless, the Bills at home would have crushed things like a paper cup. Cincy actually went for it on 4th and goal at the 1, where they could have went for 3 and missed. So Buffalo was at the 1, and then Allen gave Singletary 28-yard gain. They got a 3rd and goal, Singletary touchdown, Buffalo got it, and then the extra point is good. So 6 plays, 90 yards, 7-0. Evan McPherson kicked the field goal to make it 7-3, and then the second quarter was when things happened. McPherson kicked the field goal 7-6. And then on a 4-play, 72-yard drive, the Bills got a touchdown. As Josh Allen ran for 50 yards and no one could catch him. Wow. Field extra point makes it 14-6. And then after an interception by Jaquan Johnson, Buffalo got the touchdown as Allen hit Diggs in the end zone. So it was 21-6 Buffalo. Cincy went for a long drive, couldn't do anything. Then Buffalo went on a 6-play, 80-yard drive. And on 1st and goal, he flipped it to Beasley. Cole Beasley touchdown makes it 28-6 for the Bills. Third quarter saw a field goal. We won't get to that. The fourth quarter, Cincy got a touchdown. Spurl to Usama, his tight end, making it 28-16. Josh Allen gets picked off, but Cincy can't do anything about it. They go for a touchdown dive, made it 35-16, and this game was pretty much over. The Buffalo Bills would have crushed the Bengals and gotten to their 5th Super Bowl as a franchise. Imagine that. Josh Allen, the MVP, as he should be. Cincy 8 for 18 on conversions, Buffalo 4 for 9. Rushing yards 141, 196. Passing 241, 206 for the Bengals. Joe Mixon 78 yards. Anyway, Allen 13 for 21, 213, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Joe Burrow 22 for 35, 266, a touchdown and interception. The interceptions were Jaquan Johnson for Buffalo and Ricardo Allen for Cincy. McPherson 3 field goals, all from 39 yards. Bass from 40 yards. So the Bills would have went to the Super Bowl, and they would have went to face the LA Rams. And I believe the Super Bowl was in LA, wasn't it? Had to be. Yeah, it had to be the Super. It had to be. Right? It was at SoFi. I can't remember. After consultation, it was. So it was in Los Angeles, so I'll just make it the home team thing. So Buffalo would have to head to LA to face those pesky LA Rams. I think they're. I go with Akers and then Henderson Jr. at running back, Cam Akers. So here we go. What would happen in the Super Bowl? Well, the Super Bowl happened briskly. The Rams got the ball first. They got a penalty for holding, so they were at their own 4. But they had to punt. Buffalo had a punt, and then Matt Gay from 50 yards out kicked a field goal, make it 3-0. At Buffalo in the second quarter. Why does it say they were Jones Dome? It doesn't matter. SoFi has a dome on it. So anyway, yeah. After all that, Buffalo went on a 12-play, 85-yard drive that took over 740 of gameplay. Diggs got a touchdown from Josh Allen. They started at their own 10. They had one penalty they got attempted. So anyway, Bass kicked the field goal to make it 10-3. And then in the third quarter, Bass kicked one right down the pikey poo. What can you do to make it 13-3? And then 7.67-yard drive ended with Allen to Beasley for a touchdown to make it 20-3. This game was pretty much over. You don't blow a 17-point lead in the Super Bowl. Anyway, Buffalo gets a touchdown, Allen to Diggs. And they made it 27-3. So Buffalo would have ran the Rams right out of their own building. They got a touchdown run by Darrell Henderson and then went for two. Make it 27-11. Boo, hiss. Who cares? Anyway, Stafford would have lost it, and the Bills would have won the Super Bowl 27-11. With Mahomes out of the way, Buffalo had no fear. And Josh Allen named MVP. I mean, after all, he did throw 3 touchdowns in the Super Bowl. 4 for 12 for Buffalo in efficiency, 4 for 16 for the Rams. Passing yards 223, 118 for Buffalo. Running 175, 172 with Singletary 97 yards. Sony Michel and Darrell Henderson almost got 100 yards themselves. Josh Allen 17 for 26, 231, 3 TDs. 2 to Diggs, 1 to Beasley. Stafford 11 for 21, 135 with interception to Jordan Poyer. Bass made 2 field goals, 51 and 24, gave from 50. So anyway, the Buffalo Bills would have won the Super Bowl. Everyone would have been happy, and then the Bills fans would just shut up about not winning a Super Bowl. That's all I'm gonna say. And this ends the What If NFL era. We're gonna be ready for hockey and basketball soon enough. Anyhow, I'm Jeff. I'm gonna do